Hello, common people everywhere. This is Jen Marie, and I am hopping onto this YouTube channel I created a few weeks ago to do a short video, a little bit different than the ones I've done over the last few weeks, specifically delving into the laws of the universe, talking about assumption, inspired action, cause and effect, polarity, as a way of just laying a foundation of what my channel is going to be about, and also my podcast. This episode won't be a podcast. It's going to be a little bit shorter, but the information that I'm going to talk about today, is it tonight? It's almost night. I will incorporate that into a future podcast. And I also have some exciting news about possible course content coming up that's going to be really amazing, I think, once I get it all together. But this specific video we're going to talk about calibrating our feelings, calibrating our emotions, calibrating our mood, in hopes of helping those of you that struggle with maybe triggers, anxiety, depression, or let's just face it, that just happen to get pissed off 10 times a day over stupid things, and they let that negativity consume them and they can't seem to get back on the right track. It's like as soon as something goes wrong and something else irritates you, then something else. And again, this could be a serious topic, or a serious reason. Sorry, my nose is really itchy tonight. I don't know why. A really serious, I think it's all serious if it's affecting you in a negative way, but could be a really serious topic, or it could be something, just fleeting, like, that jackass at the gas station, or somebody that cuts you off or something like that. But there's a method that I really am very fond of, and I learned it after listening to Esther Hicks, who talked about channels a lot of this law of the universe information through Abraham. So if you haven't heard about Esther and Jerry and Abraham, a lot of people criticize because of the disbelief in an actual Abraham coming through Esther and speaking. I happen to believe it. I believe it's possible. I've known actually people and sat in a room where you're talking and you're in a meditative prayer and something else just starts coming out of them. That's pretty amazing. Nobody's head spinning around. It's not demonic. It's not anything like that. It's just a different source of information. It's pretty interesting to see if you've ever experienced it. So anyway, she talks a lot about that. I think it's also known as the Hawkins scale. It's the emotional scale. And it's basically the scale that ranks your emotions from fear, shame, anger, disappointment, pessimism, all the way up to happiness, joy, peace, and bliss. And kind of how you move through that scale, and kind of the reality of our emotions, where, it's really difficult to get to a place of, I'm not going to say impossible because miracles can happen, but unlikely you're going to get from a place of just tremendous guilt and shame about, pick a topic, pick a reason, pick a situation, pick a circumstance, that you're going to be able to go from there, calibrate your way in the next 10 minutes up to, peace, bliss, and enlightenment. It's just not realistic. Again, I'm not saying miracles can't happen, but I think for the majority of us, as we're just starting this journey, and kind of opening our mind, our heart, and our belief system, because we're really changing a lot of what we were taught and what it's still out there. This is not taught in your churches. This is not taught in your Bible studies. This is not taught in most families. A lot of us have had to just have that nagging feeling there's something more, something different, there's a better way to do this, an easier way. But anyway, in those, what would you call it? I guess in those spiritual travels of mine over the last specific year and a half, I came across this, and because I used to have a very, very short temper, and even if I didn't express it out loud, it didn't like fly out of my mouth, that knot that you get in your chest, or that upset stomach that you get, your stomach's in knots because there's just something going on internally that that is not right. It doesn't feel good. And by staying in that state too long, you're just going to continue to attract more of the same. And, this, like I said, this could start out something simple, because of, your ride into work and traffic is bad and you get pissed off, or, someone gets your order wrong at the McDonald's when you're grabbing your coffee, or the Starbucks, or, this could be, something that's also lifelong, like you've carried these feelings and you just can't seem to get out of them. You put a Band-Aid on it, but we're talking about really changing that state of your emotion, and calibrating is by far everything I've ever done in my life has been the easiest, quickest way to do it. So 5 minutes in, and we're going to jump right into what I'm talking about. So calibrating. So for this particular process, you're going to need a pencil, pen, piece of paper. It doesn't matter now that we're kind of sitting together, you can go ahead and get that. But if you're in a situation where this is happening, you feel your emotions getting a little out of control in the car, maybe, right when you pull into work, you're sitting at your desk, you're sitting at a restaurant, you can really, it's easier for me because I'm visual to write it out. Once you do this enough times, I know once you practice this, you're going to be able to also do this in your head, because you've written it so much, and it's going to get you from point A to point B really, really quickly. Now, again, as we're talking about the emotional scale, when you're dealing with some really harsh feelings of, and it doesn't really matter what the negative emotion is, or let's just say an emotion that you don't want to feel right now, you want to get out of that state. What we're talking about is finding relief, finding a little bit of a little breath, a little pause, ultimately continuing to climb that emotional scale for, for some real happiness and joy. But sometimes we're just not there yet, and I appreciate that. So I don't want to, I want to be really honest with you, and I do believe in miracles, and I do believe anything's possible. But I know, as most of you are just starting on this journey, it also needs to be believable. And so this is what I know. If you do this, and some of us might have to do it literally 20, 30 times a day, but as you begin this process, to get out of these emotions, to change your state of being, to change your state of feeling, it's going to get easier and easier, and you'll do it less and less. It does not mean bad things aren't going to happen. It doesn't mean you're not going to react poorly or in a way you'd rather not, from the outside world. That's you will. The things are going to happen. What we're talking about is just a way to deal with them so we're not buried, because that's really how that depression starts, a serious depression. It starts a little bit at a time, and it's just layers upon layers. Then it's, more dark clouds, more dark clouds. You feel like there's a weight on you, and all of a sudden you're walking like this. Your head is down. And then what you're doing is you're just attracting more and more of that negative feeling, and we don't want to go there. So it's not going to be perfect all the time, but I think this gives us a really good starting point. So what I want you to do is get out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and I want you to, and if you're not in that moment now, that's great. If you are, like, oh my gosh, she is so freaking annoying right now, like her voice is driving me crazy. If I'm bothering you, write it down. So I do this a few times a day, and there are days where I don't have to do it at all. But there's other days that are a little more challenging, and maybe I get a thought in my head and it just starts kind of growing on its own. And that's usually where that anxiety, when you feel that anxiety and you start thinking about, oh my gosh, this actually happens a lot. I know it happens a lot with my friends when, even when they're texting me or calling me and I don't respond right back, then they start thinking, oh, why is she not responding? Why is she not? And so it's just like, I might just not have my phone on me. It starts to spiral, and it's like, are you ignoring me? Are you not? Do you not like me? And we just start going down this rabbit hole. This happens a lot in relationships. You know it, and you've probably been part of it. I know he has his phone on all day long. I text him, why didn't he text me back? It's been 5 minutes, it's been 10, what is he doing? And then all of a sudden, because we have these old behaviors, stored in that subconscious mind, we've gone down a flipping rabbit hole about, somebody didn't text you back or call you back immediately. And literally it's because somebody's phone was left in the car while you went into the store, or maybe you're on the phone with somebody, maybe you're just actually doing work. But we've gone off on this, this terrible, terrible spiraling out of control, with the worst case scenario that actually never even happened. That's just our terrible mind, our terrible ego pulling it up. I'm trying to find my, I had it right here. Okay. So where I like to start is, a lot of people will tell you, once you're in, like, let's just say you're in that anxious mode. Let's talk about maybe somebody has hurt your feelings. Maybe you've been rejected at work. Maybe you didn't get a promotion. Maybe boyfriend, girlfriend has not responded in a way that you would like. That could be from rejecting you completely outright, or not, doing something you asked them to do, and you're really starting to spiral. And when this happens, okay? We all know when this happens. And once we get to that third thought, negative thought, and we get those knots in our chest, some of us just happens in our belly, but you're just getting more, you have to catch it. You have to stop it early on, because it's much easier to repair and to change and recalibrate to a better feeling and a better thought if you catch it early. So you need to be, this is part of that awareness. And if you listen to some of my podcasts, we talk a lot about awareness. So somebody just aggravated you, hurt your feelings. I want you to write down how you feel. And you have to be open and honest. Don't sugarcoat it. I am pissed off. You're right, I am pissed off. I am hurt. I am sad. I feel rejected. I feel out of freaking control. I am so damn mad. I could punch somebody in the face right now. But just keep it on I. Don't, this is not about you're an idiot or blaming something. This is, you have to take it in. So it's I feel, I am, and be truthful with those feelings. Now, this will also give you an insight about how open you are to your feelings and what's really going on. It's okay to say I'm angry 50 times. I'm angry, I'm pissed off. Say it like, that's fine, because we're gonna calibrate that into something a little bit better. I feel so ashamed. I'm so ashamed. Maybe you feel guilt about something. Went out drinking the night before, did something you regret, or maybe can't remember what you did and you're regretful about that. I feel so ashamed. I feel rejected. I feel left out. You need to be really, really clear. And if you're struggling to find the words that identify the feeling, is a really good indicator that we need to dig in and do some of that emotional work. And so we can start identifying what those feelings are. It's very hard to repair, change, calibrate when you're not really understanding that feeling to begin with. So anyway, so we're going to write as much as you want. And you're just going to write it down the left side of the paper. I'm angry. I am hurt. I feel rejected. I feel powerless. I feel not good enough. I feel unworthy. But just kind of let that spiral, that normal spiral that would go in your head, you're writing that down. Again, you're keeping it to I am, I feel. This is not about you. This is about I. Okay? Now, at some point, and you're going to know when to stop, okay? I usually stop at about 8 to 10 negative emotions down. There are some days it's only 2 or 3. There's some days it's 1. Some days it's just, I'm super pissed off. I'm so aggravated. I don't know why. I can't identify it. Maybe I'm pissed off, or maybe I'm hangry. It could just be you're hangry. It could have been nothing anybody did. You just checked your bank account and, you messed up on the calculations, or, you thought you had more than, whatever that is, right? So we're going to write that down. And then you're going to write things. Now you're going to write that on the left side of the paper. On the right side, if you have room, if not, you can write it underneath. You're going to rewrite each of those sentences. So, I feel powerless. I have power. Let's go on now. I have power. I make my own decisions. I make my own choices. I make good choices. Not all good choices, but I make good choices. Whatever you may do, I run my household. And you're going to start, when you start on that power trip, I call it a power trip, you're going to start like really thinking about some things that you do have power over, and you're going to write it down. I actually do make my own decisions. I decided to take this job. I decided to stay here. I do make good decisions, and you just keep rewriting, even if it's the same. I make good decisions. I make good decisions. It needs to be something besides, I mean, you can do it. So I feel powerless. I have power. It needs to be a little bit more believable, because you wouldn't have gone down that rabbit hole of feeling powerless if you really thought you had power. So you're going to deliberately think of things that you have power over. And the one thing that you're going to get to is you have power over the way you think and feel. Nobody has power over you when it comes to how you think and how you feel. So I am powerless. I feel powerless. Really? Powerless? I pay my own bills. I have a great job, or I have a job. I am a boss. I am a good mother. I am whatever makes you feel powerful. I am aware of my power. I am aware I can change this. I have power over the way I feel. I have power over everything and everybody. I have the power. And as you start going, you really want to make sure that when you're writing all the negative, and let's say you pick the topic, just one of the lines, power, that you have a substantial amount of powerful statements that help change and influence the way you feel about yourself. I hope this makes sense. I don't have a whiteboard, otherwise I would write it down. I feel lonely. I feel pretty alone. I feel like all by myself. You know, it's kind of nice sometimes being by yourself. I think I could use this time, instead of feeling lonely, I could find something to do. One of the things I'm not going to do is sit here and feel sorry for myself, because that's ridiculous. I am not lonely. I'm alone. I'm alone by choice. I'm alone because my kids went off to a sleepover. I'm alone because my husband went on a business trip. Isn't it awesome how he takes care of our family? I am alone because I am traveling for a business trip and I'm back in my hotel room. And isn't it awesome? I can take care of my own family. And you know what? That makes me powerful. I have power. So we're doing some silly things. I'm angry. I love the angry. I'm pissed off. I am so pissed off. How hard is it just to make a French vanilla coffee, 2 creams, 2 sugars? Why is that hard? Why is that so difficult? You know, I make really great coffee. And I know sometimes when I'm rushing around, I'll forget to put my sugar in my coffee. I don't always make perfect coffee. If I had to make, can you imagine making that much coffee and that many different orders just in one morning? You know how stressful that must be for them? I mean, it's a kind of a miracle they get the coffee straight. I mean, they are just shooting off orders. If you've ever been in Starbucks, they're screaming across the way, and they've got to keep everybody's order. It's got to be the exact, wow, that's really tough. Wow, that is really tough. I don't know that I could do that. I appreciate that they at least try. I appreciate they show up to work. I appreciate there's a business there that I can show up and order coffee. They don't get it wrong all the time. And honestly, if they do, or they get it wrong a lot of times, I can just change and go somewhere else and get my own damn coffee. So these are long sentences and explanations, but you can do it. And at first you may have to do sentences and paragraphs until you do it enough to where you know what to say to yourself, because you're training your subconscious. You know what to say to yourself to get yourself out of the funk. I'm really, really shameful, or I feel a lot of shame for what happened last night. And the most shame I feel is because I really don't know. I'm embarrassed. I drank too much, made a fool of myself. I thought I was being super cute and flirty, and I got mean and belligerent. That's not me. that's not me every day. That's not a normal behavior. And, nobody's really judging me for it. Well, they really shouldn't judge me for it because everybody's done it. Doesn't make it right, but I can fix that. Why? Because I'm powerful. Because I have the power to feel better. So, and you know what? I wouldn't have said and gotten mean if so-and-so hadn't gotten in my face. It really pisses me off that, so-and-so can get away with saying this and doing that. Okay, so now you're angry. And when we talk more about the emotional scale, it's really interesting to know that shame and guilt are way below on the emotional scale from anger. Anger is actually a better feeling emotion than shame or guilt. You know why? Because most of the time when we're angry, we can take an action step and fix it. Now, that action step is on the emotional scale, and it's called revenge. And believe it or not, revenge is a better feeling thought or better feeling emotion than anger, than shame and guilt. Now, I'm not telling you to go take revenge on people and go egg their house and beat them up or whatever, but just that feeling of it, it's kind of like what's happening is it's getting your mind off of, I'm a terrible person, I'm so angry. Why? It takes off that self-pity, that self-pity is one of them too. It takes away that pessimism. I'm pissed. I just punch somebody in the face. Don't do it, but in your brain, you can run through all kinds of revenge cycles. And sometimes, as I just say that, you can say something so ridiculous that it actually makes you laugh. Like, oh, I could just punch him in the face. Oh, I could just go egg their house. Oh, I could just do this. And then you realize, for most of us, the ridiculousness of what we just said. And we start to laugh because, you're not really going to do it. Don't do it. I'm not telling you to do it. And so then that raises you start still climbing up the emotional scale. So little baby steps, bits and pieces. That's all you need. So this calibrating, again, doesn't have to be the first maybe 10 times you do it. It's going to be a little lengthy depending on the emotion. But identify the emotion. And if you are somebody that just needs think of a pros and cons list. If that's how your brain works and you don't want to get deep into why, that's fine. I feel really powerless. I have all the power. I am rejected. Nobody can reject me. I repel. I'm not rejected. I am lonely. I chose to be alone. I am sad. I am sad right now. And you know why I'm sad? Because I miss them. And I miss them because I miss the way they talk about anything and made jokes about anything. I miss the way they cook. I miss the way they look. I miss the way they... And then all of a sudden in that missing, even in grief, that missing, you start thinking about the reasons you miss them. And a lot of those memories will bring a smile to your face, because what you don't miss if you've, gone through a tragedy, you don't miss hurt and suffering and pain. You don't miss that. What you miss is the positive, the fun, the connecting. And so that's even going to get you higher on the emotional scale. Okay? So I hope this helps. I know it's kind of a little all over the place, and I am new at my YouTube channel and teaching and coaching, and but I am going to put a lot of this information in a format, and we'll talk more about, and I'll do some visuals with the actual emotional scale. One of the best books I ever read to get me started on this journey is actually by Esther and Jerry Hicks, and it's called Ask and It Is Given. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Ask and It's Given. And it's really, really good, and it really walks you through the entire emotional scale process and how to use this calibration. Just one of them. This is one method, calibration method that anybody can do. And again, as you get better at it, you'll be able to do this in your head more and more and more. The most important thing is, whether you're being triggered and you don't know why, but you know that feeling, you need to get yourself out of that feeling. You're the only one that can really do it. And if the calibration doesn't work, you may try to piggyback it with the breath work. Sometimes we need to do the breath work before we're even able to calibrate, depending on how strong that emotion is. And again, that's that 4 breaths in, hold for 4, out for 4. And we'll do some meditation techniques and videos coming up on a future post. All right. Well, I hope that helped. I wanted this to be shorter, but I tend to ramble. But I do thank you for following, and thank you for trusting me. And post comments and questions down below, and let me know what you want to hear more about, and how I can make this better connecting and interacting for you. Thanks, guys.